You guys ready?
Yep.
Came here, I was just fresh 21 years old, didn't have any kids, I wasn't married at the time, and just the city embraced me and they showed me so much love. They kind of, I just grew up here and it just was a spot that just showed me so much love, and I kind of wanted to reciprocate that love. It just finally feels like where I grew up, and it's the place where I wanted to end my career.
Coming to you live from the Cross Country Mortgage Campus in Berea, Ohio, this is Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Here are your hosts, Bo Bishop and Nathan
You're up.
All right, let's do it live on a game day Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. That was Joe Hayden. That was a special Saturday.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love Joe. I'm so excited to get to see him tonight. We're going to have him on the program in just about 15 minutes. I'm excited to get to talk to him. And what a great honor for a guy who was a great Brown and who really was, in many ways, the face of this franchise and the face of, the Browns, certainly in this city at that time. Now, Joe Thomas obviously is going straight to the Hall of Fame. The Hoff, that's our boy. That's our guy.
Yep.
But as a left tackle, and he wasn't back then, the media sensation that he is now, he was just really, really good. Joe Hayden was a corner and was the face and had the #1 selling jersey in the league, which is still one of the craziest things ever, but it's true.
Yeah, he was at everything.
At all the Cavs games.
He was at all of those Cavs games. He would go to the Indians games at the time. Like, he was a man about town.
Yes.
And so
question.
That was, even really to this day, whether it was, Baker early on or Miles now, I don't know that anybody's been more man about town than, he's as much as anybody in the last decade.
I don't think anybody's close. And from a Brown standpoint?
Yeah. I was trying to think of guys who would be seen at stuff. The thing about Joe is he was here in the offseason.
Nobody's even close.
Like, a lot of our guys would leave. A lot of our guys leave in the offseason. He didn't. Like, he was here and he lived here. This was home.
Nobody's close. The guy who could end up being close would be Greg Newsome. If he makes a few Pro Bowls and because he's at Cavs games all the time. He'll be, I'm sure, during the bye week when we talk to him at the coaches show. He'll be there. He has a chance to be kind of that next Joe Hayden in terms of just always being around in the city and being at everything. So how that manifests itself, we'll see. He's got to obviously do some things on the football field, get to some Pro Bowls and things of that nature. But Joe Hayden was 101. He was beloved, a beloved teammate, just a great guy. I love talking to him. Always one of the nice guys. Always had a smile on his face. Very much like Kirko in that regard.
Yep.
But obviously a little bit higher profile. But by the way, Kirko's still kicking around in the league, starting for the Texans. That's a pretty good career. Drafted in 2014, and you're still rolling around. You've done something quite right.
Yeah, you absolutely have. By the way, we have a football game here tonight. It is the hated Bengals in town. It is Halloween. It is at 8:15 on the kick. There will be significant players on both sides out of this one. We talked last week. Jamar Chase will not be playing in this game. From our perspective, also ruled out David Njoku. That one we figured. Wyatt Teller, we figured. Denzel Ward continues to be in concussion protocol. I think that there are major concerns about Denzel Ward now with the amount of concussions, and this is going to be 4 weeks in the protocol. It's I never would have thought. It seemed like such an innocuous hit when he got hurt. I just am shocked that he's still down at this point. Joe Haeg as well with the concussion ruled out tonight as well. Your heart breaks for him. He had nothing more than to play, and he just cannot get there.
No.
In terms of questionable tonight, Farrell Brown, Greg Newsome, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and Greedy Williams. What do you feel on those guys on the questionable side?
I feel good about everybody other than Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Obviously, you hate to see a late add to the proceedings there, as you saw with Greg Newsome. But, JOK has not practiced all week. And for the Browns, typically you got to practice if you're going to end up playing. And I think that we could be in a situation where you look at that linebacker room. The good news is I think that we'll be, for the large majority of the game, we will be in nickel because they will be in 11 personnel. So we'll only need 2 linebackers out there. But in the event that you don't have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in this one, you would probably be playing Deion Jones, Sione Takitaki, and Tony Phillips Tony Fields, in your base defense. Tony Fields has played one defensive snap for the Browns in his career, which was against the Pittsburgh Steelers earlier this year. So that is, to me, that is a concerning thing. But again, the Bengals, obviously, with Jamar Chase, were an 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers on the field, 98% of the time the last few weeks. Like, that is literally all they do. So if that's the case, the Browns should be in a good position to be able to match that with nickel. But does that mean you go with Jones and Takitaki as your 2 linebackers, or do you play the speedy Fields, who's much more body type, running ability of a JOK? Not ideal. The good news is they don't really throw the ball to their tight ends a ton. Hayden Hurst has had a decent year. Last week, he did have 6 catches for 48 yards, which were both season highs. But again, that's 8 yards a catch. He's 29 catches, 226 yards, 7.8 yards a catch for the season.
If JOK is indeed out,
yeah,
that would then mean that just for this week, you would be without 4 critical starters. And remember, you're already out Anthony Walker Jr., who's critical, as we figured out, as anybody at the linebacker standpoint. But if you're without JOK, Teller, Ward, and Njoku, those are among your 10 most important players on your team, and you might be without all of them tonight. So that is not great in any way.
No, it's not great, but
no one's going to feel sorry
NFL,
for you, but it is
right.
what it is.
It's the NFL.
It just sucks. Like, it's.
Yes.
I mean, we're not even halfway home yet in this season, and it feels like it's just stacks in an incredible way. And when did this JOK injury happen?
I don't know, because he played basically the whole game. He played 51 of our 64 defensive snaps against the Ravens last week and was sensational. And I don't remember him coming out at the end. He was Pro Football Focus's number 2 linebacker of the week. 6 tackles, a tackle for a loss, 2 passes defensed, a forced fumble in that one. He forced the fumble that the Browns recovered late in that game. He was amazing. I thought he was sensational. And yeah, you really want to have him out there in this one.
Yes, for sure. All the while, this one is as important as it could be for us in terms of trying to keep some glimmer of hope of a season still alive. At 2-5, you can't not have it. The last thing you want to do is go into a bye week this way. For Cincinnati, you got to keep pace with Baltimore. A win would allow them to stay at 5-3 and do it. It would keep them from dropping a second divisional game, which is something we're attempting not to do as well. So all of that is the backdrop, let alone Battle of Ohio and all of that. But then you also have this news yesterday from Adam Schefter, sources saying that we are willing to grant Kareem Hunt his trade request. Now, this was a trade request that had happened in August. This isn't a new one, is it? It's continuation of the previous one.
Yeah.
Was it even August? It was in the summer.
It was a training camp. So it was probably August.
Yeah.
But yes, Browns would be open to that, and anything that's going to happen, I expect would happen tomorrow. By the way, back to the Bengals real quick. They're already 0-2 in the division. This would be 0-3.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
So lots of Pittsburgh in the opener. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So so this game matters a lot to them.
Oh, it's huge for them. Yeah,
yes.
For sure. In that respect, and keeping pace with Baltimore, who they're already a game down. If they were to lose here, they would essentially be 3 games behind Baltimore because Baltimore has the tiebreaker and they'd be 2 games out. So, they have to keep pace. They will be supremely motivated.
Yes.
The Kareem Hunt deal, if there is a deal, it would be tomorrow, 4 o'clock is the NFL's trade deadline. According to Adam Schefter's sources, ESPN, the Browns would like to receive a 4th-round pick in any trade involving Hunt or compensation that would be better than the compensatory pick they would receive in 2024. If it doesn't go well tonight, I hope that is the case for his sake and for our sake in terms of recouping assets, because it just feels like if you drop to 2-6, then the writing is certainly on the wall at that point.
Yeah. I hope. I think there's a world in which we win and you can give Kareem Hunt an opportunity to thrive somewhere else and lean on, Jerome Ford returning, who we liked. You lean on Dearness Johnson behind Nick Chubb. You're excellent at that position. So if there's an opportunity for him to be able to thrive elsewhere, the Browns to get assets, which they will need, then I say, go for it. We'll see. But so far, it felt like I thought maybe today you would see a flurry of activity on the trade market because of the fact that, everybody else has played and kind of knows where they stand. But so far, fairly quiet on that trade market.
It has been. I do wonder if kind of waiting on tonight a little bit, but you feel like other
Shouldn't affect
teams,
everybody else.
many of the other teams would already have, unless there are teams waiting on Kareem Hunt.
Sure.
Like if there are Philly, the Rams, Bills, if there's 3 or 4 teams waiting on Kansas City, waiting on Kareem. I saw the Titans were the second betting choice to land Kareem Hunt.
What?
The Titans.
Why?
I have no idea, but they were, according to a betting source, they were the second choice of landing Kareem Hunt. I did not see who the first was because this was from a Tennessee beat writer perspective. But the Titans want to be very active at the deadline right now as well. So I don't know, insurance or just two-headed monster of them both. And if they have to go with Malik Willis, they could do that. I don't know. But worth noting, and that there could be more, because if you watched football yesterday, it's bonkers, man. It's absolutely bonkers. There is separation in the AFC at the top very clearly, and there's separation at the very, very top of the NFC. And then other than that, it's pretty wide open what happens on a week-to-week basis.
Who would you consider? So obviously, Bills, Chiefs are the top in the AFC. Who would you consider to be the tops in the NFC?
Philly.
And anyone?
I know they're 4-4, but I really like the San Francisco 49ers, especially with
Philly,
McCaffrey.
Dallas, Vikings,
Dallas.
Niners.
I would have Dallas too.
Yeah.
Probably. I'd probably go Philly, Dallas. But I would probably say, like, if you were saying bet the house on an NFC team to make the Super Bowl, I would probably roll with San Francisco.
Okay.
Getting healthy with McCaffrey, and I feel like they're going to have a lot of fun, and I trust the coach more than, some of those other spots necessarily. So that's where you stand. There's a lot on this one tonight. You had the Halloween aspect of it, and away that you go when it comes to, should be a lot of juice for this game tonight. Hey, Browns fans, you could enter for a chance to win season tickets for the 2023 season from Sugardale and local Meyer. 2 lucky fans will have a chance to compete on the field during halftime of the November 27th game for the ultimate prize. Text Browns to 55678 to enter today. Joe Hayden will join us coming up next. We'll go around the league a little bit, hit you with some over-unders coming up a little bit later in the program. Ben Baby will join us as well from the Bengals side of things, your game day forecast. You have that to look forward to, which is very, very nice here on a Reaction Monday. We are off and running. The Hoff as well. Good grief. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
just the memories of my teammates. Like I thought my first thing I was thought of like Big Phil. I thought of Phil Taylor. I thought of T.J. Ward. I thought of Buster Screen. I thought of Gibson. I thought of just about the dudes that I was here with, like having so much fun and just walking through these halls and going through the practice fields and just the battles that we went into.
Cleveland Browns Daily brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ES.
You're up.
Cleveland.
Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join us as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Pretty special over the weekend to have Joe back here. Saw our video crew put the video up of him walking around the facility down with Brad hanging out.
Yeah, and they had
That was pretty cool.
The beautiful Pro Bowl jersey on the wall, which was the one that I, in my great in the great caper on me, that inspired the uniform that I thought was going to be the next Browns uniform, and that uniform is awesome.
It's a good look.
Basically, whatever that was, where the orange was, it would be our orange, and where the black was, it would be like a dark chocolate brown.
Yeah.
It was stunning. I mean, it really was great. It was certainly better than whatever
There was a lot
happened.
of rumors about that, too, that there was that was real, and then you were really
duped.
Yeah.
By the way, significantly better than what we did in 2014.
I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
How could you?
Yeah. No.
You're a
no.
smart man.
No,
You're a man of consequence and intelligence.
Yeah. It was good to see him back. I think we'll have him on here in a second. I think it's always I just think it's really cool how he basically split his career between both. And I don't think it's not as any sort of disrespect to Pittsburgh, but there is an affinity he has for here. That even though he won a lot more in Pittsburgh, there is definitely an affinity for this town and for maybe the fact that he grew up here and went from a young man to a man here. It's a remarkable thing.
It certainly is. And it's, again, a beloved player, a beloved teammate, a beloved part of the fabric of Cleveland. And that's why he was who he was, always smiling, always positive. I've said many, many times, as good of a football player he was, he's a better guy off the field, and he treated everybody in this building, everybody, with the utmost respect and made you feel like when he stopped to talk to you, like he wanted to talk to you. He wanted to be there and the interaction was as important to him as it was to you. And that's what, to me, says all you need to know about Joe Hayden, and the fact that he was a great player on top of it is even better. I remember I was doing work for my former employer back in the day when he was drafted. I met Joe, interviewed him that day.
Oh, you were at the draft?
At the draft,
That's
Radio
pretty
City
cool.
Music Hall. Interviewed him. I flew back on the plane that he flew back to Cleveland on. He had a beautiful black diamond stud earring. I remember those. And he couldn't have been nicer then as a 21-year-old kid. And it's just awesome to see. I'm honestly shocked he's not still playing. He definitely can still play.
I was going to say, can he pop in for
listen,
for
no
tonight?
Denzel.
Hop in?
Throw 21 on. I know we got a 23. Switched to 21 anyway when he went to the Steelers. So why not?
Throw it on him and give it a go. You might need it because while as you wait on Joe here, this matchup tonight, no Jamar Chase for Cincinnati. Don't waste any tears for Cincinnati. They're going to throw it all over the place tonight. I feel like in the last 3 or 4 games they've decided that that's who they are. They're going to play out of the gun a lot, and I think Burrow will throw it a lot. And I don't think that they're going to be hindered much in terms of approach without Jamar Chase in the game. They'll be hindered a great deal on results, I think, because it's a totally different approach when you have Chase or when you don't. But this is a full day tonight down at the stadium trying to stop Burrow in this offense.
Yeah, look, the fact is Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback. And you think about last week, and again, this is with Jamar Chase, 34 of 42, 481 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he ran for a touchdown as well. These aren't video game numbers, even though they feel that way. Back-to-back games, over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns passing, 1 touchdown rushing, no interceptions. No one's ever done that before in the history of the league, which blows my mind. But it's true. Nobody's done that. He has multiple passing touchdowns in 5 straight games, 15 total. He's got a rushing touchdown in 3 straight games. He is as good as anybody. 2nd in the league in yards, 5th in completion percentage, 3rd in touchdowns. He's got the top quarterback rating in the league since week number 3. Since then, he's averaging about 300 yards a game with 12 touchdowns, only 1 interception. The guy is phenomenal. Now, you're losing the number 1 option, 6th in the NFL in receiving, Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd already have over 900 yards and 5 touchdowns themselves. They're averaging over 15 yards a catch themselves. So they still have plenty of talent. And Joe Mixon, who has not been as productive this year, maybe this is a game where they try to get Joe Mixon going again.
Yeah.
And he's been very good against the Browns. 300-yard games against the Browns in his career. He averages 125 total yards and 0.75 touchdowns per game in 8 career games against Cleveland. So he's good. By the way, he's 31 yards away from 5,000 yards rushing for his career, which is a nice milestone for Joe Mixon. But touching the ball a lot, 148 touches in their 7 games. So you know that he's getting it over 20 times. He will touch it a lot. I expect him to become really the third guy in this offense, and he's got a touchdown in 3 of his last 4 games. So he's starting to come around a little bit for them after a sluggish start, especially rushing the ball.
Yeah, and I would think that with the injuries we have at the linebacker position, you could get Mixon, who has shown an ability to do that out of the backfield, involved.
Yep.
Someone's going to have to pick up the slack. I mean,
yep.
Chase it's a ton of targets. It's a ton of production every week. Burrow is throwing it for a lot of yards on a week-in, week-out basis. I'm sure that will be the thing tonight. They'll attempt to do all of that. That is who they are, so someone's got to pick it up. It's just a matter of who it is. And then conversely, when we have the ball, as someone was asking me this morning about that process, and I said, boy, you know what? Like, in all honesty, you get the performance you got last week in Baltimore, you're going to give yourself an opportunity to win. 22 of 28. Nick Chubb, 5.5 yards a carry.
Sure.
That should do it.
Yep. That should have done it last week. That's certainly the recipe for the Cleveland Browns. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get after Joe Burrow. You're going to have to generate takeaways. You're going to have to take care of the football yourself and, limit the big plays. That's part of it, is that even without Chase, just Higgins and Boyd alone already have 3 touchdowns and more than 40 yards this year.
We got Hayden.
Yeah, that's the task, and it's a tall one, certainly. Well, we'll ask him if he's got any snaps in him. Joe Hayden joining us now on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Joe, so great to see you back in the building over the weekend, to see you back as a Brown. Well, let's start there. Do you got any snaps in? We got a long injury report here, pal.
Hilarious. No, I mean, I wish. But I think I've hung them up officially.
What was this weekend like for you? So beloved here, obviously, and by fans and everybody here in the building alike. What did it mean for you to have this go this way this weekend and have this weekend back here in Cleveland?
Man, it's been unreal. Just the love of the city, me coming back, being able to have all my friends, all the relationships that I built. When I first got here, being able to have my family come out. Cavs, always showing love. Was at the game yesterday. He got Donovan Mitchell signed jersey off of his back after the 38 in the win. So it's just been unbelievable, man. I'm having so much fun, and I think it's going nightcap tonight.
Joe, Nathan here. So happy for you, man. Can't wait to see you later today. And just first of all, congratulations. And as I was saying earlier, you were in many ways the face of this franchise for such a long time, not only on the field, not only in Pro Bowls, but also out in the community. And I always think of you not only making plays on the field, but being present at those Cavs games. So I think it was poetic that there was a home Cavs game last night. And what about that ovation you received? I mean, there aren't many people that, leave the Browns, and obviously not under the circumstances any of us would have wanted to, but you last played here in 2016. Yeah. You go play for the Steelers for 6 years, for crying out loud, and you come back, and the ovation that you got at that game last night, what did that mean to you, and did that just kind of speak to you, to the impact you had here on this city in your time here?
Man, it kind of almost choked me up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it just shows that it's so reciprocated. Everything that the love I gave out to the city, and they appreciated it, they embraced it, and just yesterday, like getting that crazy, like you said, it was so loud. I was just looking around and everybody, man, Joe, you're a legend. Thank you for everything you did for the city, not only on the field but off the field. I mean, just the respect. It was amazing, overwhelming, and I love everybody from the city that just tried to show me that love.
Joe, take us back to that time, upon being drafted here, and you're a kid who had a great deal of success at the University of Florida on some of the greatest college football teams of all time. You're drafted early in the first round. You come to Cleveland. Nathan and I were talking about this earlier. I don't recall any athlete who threw themselves into a city the way that you did. Do you remember that being a conscious decision? What made you want to be so involved in the city the way that you were? What do you remember about that time?
I remember just, I was finally, my dream came true. You know what I'm saying? I was drafted to the league. So basically, I've always been like a basketball fan, always been just a really, really big sports fan. And coming to Cleveland, I never really been to Cleveland before. I didn't know how much they loved and embraced, you know what I'm saying, the sports. And I'm all for it. So I just felt like, man, y'all love your teams. So do I. So like let's do it. I love basketball. I love just being around, being with the people. So once they showed me that they loved it, and I was going to do it regardless. So once it happened, it was just like, man, this is perfect.
Joe, what was it like when you get drafted by the Browns, you come here, you mentioned in one of the quotes you said at the press conference, you're a 21-year-old guy. You end up, you get married while you're here with the Browns. You're like the first guy in forever to sign a second contract, that was drafted by the Browns, which was a very, very big deal. Yeah. When you signed that deal, and I remember sitting in the studio and you guys signed it in that conference room, literally right across the hallway, yes, right there. I remember, yeah, you and your lovely wife were there. What was that moment like for you? And was that a moment that, you look back on as one of those truly life-changing moments?
Oh, my goodness, yes. Like the draft day moment, of course, but your second contract is the contract where you get paid for what you've done in the league, like yep, what your peers and what everybody's seeing you do. So that second contract is the boom, like, okay, I made it, and now I continue to have to perform, obviously, but it's expected of me. Like, I'm getting paid the big bucks because they know I'm going to go ball. So that was just a real, like, man, you're doing your thing in the league. Continue, keep it going, but, like, that was like a real, like, man, Joe, you did it. Mm-hmm. You didn't just get drafted and you were a bust or anything. But, I mean, you know what I'm saying, it happens. But being able to work, grind, and then get that second deal was like, man, yes.
Yeah, 5 years, $67 million. Yeah, that's a yes. I'd be pretty fired up about that, too.
Joe, you have such a unique perspective in that you played for these two franchises where there is this incredible dislike between the two fan bases. What perspective can you give on playing on both sides of it?
The feelings are mutual. For sure. You guys do not like each other. But I think it's in the buildings, though, it's a competitive and a respectful competitive. Like, each other don't like each other. You're going to get the best shot. It doesn't matter what the records are. Cleveland's going to give you their best shot. Every time you play them, you want to beat the Steelers because that's your arch rival. And the same way over there in Pittsburgh, they respect the Browns because they know exactly what they're going to get every single time. It's going to be a fight. So I think just the teams having that mutual, like, you really don't like each other. I mean, that's just something that is from the teams and it's from the cities.
Joe, this is obviously a very big game for the Browns, who have not gotten off to the start that they wanted to. It is against the Bengals, and no matter where you were, if you were the Brown or if you were a Steeler, you got the Bengals twice a year, every single year. Do you have any great memories, from your time either here or in Pittsburgh of games against the Bengals? I want to say in 2014, there's a game where you had a pick. We won 34-24, and I know there's a game where you had two picks and your first career touchdown, but unfortunately we did not get that one done there back in 2013.
No, I mean, it was the two-pick game. I thought we got us off to a good start. We came back and lost that one. But then I had for that game, though, was probably I had two picks in one quarter. Yeah. So that was one of my highlight games versus the Bengals.
Well, we need somebody to get emulate you tonight. Two picks in one quarter, I think, will help us out tremendously.
I think Newsom could do it for sure. I like Newsom with two picks.
By the way, I don't know if I just was with him on Thursday night for the coaches show out on a remote, and he goes to the Cavs games all the time. He's got your natural kind of smile. He's always positive, happy to see everybody. And he said you guys had not met yet, but I think you guys he's a little bit of a kindred spirit of yours. I think you guys will enjoy each other's company for sure.
Yes, I got to meet him actually on, Saturday at the practice.
Okay.
So we got to hang out. We got to chop it up for sure. So great dude, man. I see a really, really bright future for him, though, for sure. He definitely reminds me of myself. I just hope he just
which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, and MJ Emerson too, right, Joe? He's a Floridian wearing that 2-3s, and you hooked up with him Saturday too, right?
He is showing. I went and spoke with him too because I saw the video of him. So he looked up to me, him being from Florida. So I just wanted to get that dude a hug. As soon as I saw him, just hugged him.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and so far he's doing your 23 justice right now. Yeah, very impressive young rookie.
Man, good job. Please try to give him some good juju.
Let's go,
Joe. We'll get you out of here on this one. I've told this before on this show, and I'm sure you're aware of it, but I think it speaks to the relationship that you had with the fans, and that the fans love that they had for you. This was when we did the uniform exchange, and I was doing an out-of-market radio interview, and the host on the other end said, "Can you believe that the number one selling jersey in the NFL is Joe Hayden?" And I said, "Well, I can. The Browns got new uniforms, and he is the most beloved player for a franchise that is absolutely beloved by its fans. Typically, the number one selling jersey in the NFL, as you know, though, is a quarterback or a young running back.
Quarterback.
Always, right? Like you had the number one selling jersey in the NFL playing corner, buddy.
Trust me, I saw that too, and I thought it was not real. I was like, I'm selling more jerseys than Tom Brady. This is crazy.
That's right. That's right. Because, listen, you were beloved. And one thing I'll get you out of there on this one from my end is this, and I said this before you came on, and what I thought was so special about you, not only you as a player, and obviously I got to know you and interview you and talked with you so many times, and it wasn't just the way you treated me. It was the way you treated everybody here. You treated the equipment guys, the way you treated even the janitors, the way you treated the people in the cafe. Every single person that you interacted with, you made them feel like you were as excited to interact with them as they were, for sure, to be interacting with you. And I want to just thank you for that, because I think that speaks to not only what kind of a player you were, but what kind of a guy you were, which is ultimately more important in the long run, right? And so just thank you for that. And is that something that, you were always taught to do? Is that just something that just came natural to you? Because it is very unique to have somebody that is that engaging with everybody and treats everybody with that kind of respect. And I thought that's what was so special about you.
Oh man, thank you. I think it's genuine. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
That's something I really don't think you can really teach. I think my mom and dad, I got great examples. You know what I'm saying? They've always just been so caring, kind to people, and it doesn't cost anything to be nice.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I always give each person the opportunity. I'm going to be as nice as I possibly am, coming to you with the good energy. If you don't give it back, you know what I'm saying? Cool. It's not reciprocated, then I'll just slide on. But I give everybody equal opportunity, talk to them, look them in the eyes, you know what I'm saying? Just like try to brighten people's day, you know what I'm saying? Because it's free to do that.
Yep.
Walking around being mad, I just don't like bad energy. You know what I'm saying? I'm
That's
a big
right.
energy dude.
Good vibes only.
Trying to give all positive vibes. Good vibes only. Shit, like seriously. For what? For what? Walk around grumpy. So, I just love that, and I just like to have people around me with good spirit and try to keep people up.
Well, you brought our spirits up here today,
yes.
and it's great to have you back, buddy, and I hope we can culminate it with a win tonight over the Bengals. Thanks for your time, Joe.
Man, thank you guys, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, he's the best. Joe Hayden joining on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. The idea that you didn't win a lot of games in that time, obviously, but that you had Joe Thomas and Joe Hayden. You want to talk about good humans.
Great.
Just do the right things, and we're good people. You had that, and they were great players. They were great players. Elk and Elk serious injuries, serious lawyers. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. We got a little over-unders coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, here for my friends at Renew Home Exteriors, offering high-performance products that are durable, long-lasting, constant, and energy-saving. They'll transform the look and efficiency of your home. The winter can wreak havoc on your roof. Ice and snow buildup can quickly turn into major problems. Don't go into winter with concerns about your roof. With Renew Home Exteriors, get a new roof installed in 7 to 10 days for no money down and payments as low as $96 a month. Plus, receive free gutter guards with your proof of purchase. Beautify your home with premium siding and roofing products at lower prices with Renew Home Exteriors. Visit RenewEstimate.com. Yes? Oh, I thought you had a note there. I thought there were some notes.
No. I was getting a note from Miss K about when the roads close tonight because it's so much different than going in on a Sunday morning, and so I wanted to make sure that I'm able to just zoom in.
Well, they don't mess around. I'll tell you that.
I know. Last time without the benefit of some very nice people who were manning various posts, I might not have made the game.
Well, what I think is a real tricky on that is that they will close at this time, but the city also reserves the right to do whatever the hell they want.
Yes. So last time they said they were closing them at 6. I was where I wanted to be at 5:45.
Yeah.
Not open. So.
Right. That happened to me last year when I went to the game. This year I got like an hour early just to make sure.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
But it's
Smart.
So give yourself plenty of time to get down there. This could be a scene, man. Halloween and this.
Yes. Yep.
A lot of alcohol. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, that's in play.
There's going to be a lot of alcohol.
There's always a line on if you're dressed up and going to a sporting event and where the alcohol becomes a problem and then you're walking around drunk in a costume. That's always a line.
What could go wrong?
Right. Where you want to make sure that you try to stay on the right side of that ledger where all of this is concerned. Yeah. Did you guys enjoy your Sunday watching some NFL?
Didn't watch a thing.
Didn't you were out? Yeah.
Just busy. I mean, I was on call for here, worked here Saturday. Monday night games, worst.
Yeah.
From a logistics standpoint and just trying to get ready for things because no one can commit. No one can. Yeah. Everybody's like, well, let me see what happens on Sunday. Well, okay. I don't know how that impacts us, but okay.
Yeah.
So it was fine. I got some time with the lady. Outside is beautiful again this weekend.
It's a great weekend. And supposed to be a great week, by the way. You're supposed to have a great week this week, too, so who knows?
71 on Friday and Saturday, kids.
I mean, that's unbelievable to have that.
Four straight?
Yeah, it's really nice because we didn't have much of a September, but October has been sensational.
Yeah.
It's just torturing me.
Why? You did a nice fall fest this
I
weekend.
had a great
documentary, and I got to see all of your activities.
The boys would love that place that we went to.
They'd be for that.
Oh, yeah. Full little kind of zoo. There was a camel there. There was a zonkey, which is a zebra and a donkey together.
Really?
Never seen one of those before.
Goes.
I'm just trying to think of how that was. Which way is the
one?
Yep.
I don't. It says on there.
Miss
K knows which was the male, which was the female. Yes, it's
to make it work.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there was a zonkey. There was a camel, which was great.
Yeah, you love a camel.
Kind camel too. Very nice young.
Can you ride the camel?
It didn't appear that there were rides on the camel, but they had this little area and there was a bunch of goats and pigs and stuff running around, which was pretty cool. They had a nice corn maze, which we had fun with, and then they had an area where you could shoot a corn cannon, which is basically just a very high air pressure loaded tube that pops out ears of corn at a rapid rate.
There you go.
And shoot at targets, which was fun. They had a paintball area, which is super fun. And they had these little gel ball guns that the kids would like, where you could run around in there and shoot each other around, and obviously couldn't hurt anybody or anything.
Yeah.
But it was fun. They had little hay rides. It was great. It was awesome. Got our pumpkins. Didn't do any carving this year. A little sad about that, but
I find that on the carvings that it's usually just me.
Yeah, that's how it's been.
Like that I do it and everyone else acts like they're interested, and then basically once I start cutting into it, they're like, they want to touch it. All right, give me this stuff. I want to feel it. And then once that's done, they watch.
They're out.
Bootsy's on to watching Bluey, and then they come back in 30 minutes and are like, okay, how'd you do, Dad?
I think next year I just want to get some sweet Sharpies and just write. I just do cut out ZWO anyway, so I could just write that on there and be just as easy and less messy.
Less mess, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone gave me the tip a couple of years ago to take the bottom out or the back end versus the top. Forever we would take the top end out. But if you take the bottom or the back, then it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And it's actually more structurally sound.
That's right.
So Yeah, I've been doing that. That's a bit of a game changer.
It's a good note there.
We had a neighborhood Thanksgiving or Halloween yesterday. It's the first time I've ever seen our little neighbor girl, Sweet Emery. She took all she was picking up for her sister as well, and so we had a full array of candies to choose from, and she took 4 Three Musketeers. As soon as Amy put them in there, and I'm sure it was like the Costco thing where like you get them all,
sure.
and then here's one, like Costco does with everything. Like here's 4 flavors you really like and one that sucks. Well, she like all of these Three Musketeers. I told Amy, I said, but God, nobody's gonna eat Three Musketeers. We're gonna be stuck with these things. We donate them to somebody. Sure enough, Emery took 4 of them. God bless you. Fantastic.
It's my father's favorite.
He loves it. There's
I don't
nothing
know.
to it.
He's the only one.
Nothing to it.
It's not even nougat, is it? It's just like fluff. It's like marshmallow.
I don't really know what it is. It's not great.
It's no good. No, it's no good. We had an incredible. The boys the older two were trying to pull one over on Bootsy last night on a candy trade, and he was unaware. They were trying to scoop him on Nerds, and they were trying to trade him for the Nerds. And I said, I got to tell you, Bootsy, I think you're really going to like those Nerds. I'd hold on to those things if I were you. You got the flavors, one side's each flavor. That feels like a win. I said I'd hold on to that, and that usurped their attempts to screw him out of his candy.
What is the
Nerds are fantastic. Yeah.
They are fantastic.
Grape, watermelon, strawberry.
So great.
Like the combo one, the box that is like a rainbow of corn. It's a cornucopia flavor. Of sugar.
The one candy from my childhood that I did not love that was along the similar vein of Nerds was Pop Rocks. I didn't
that
enjoy
was a
it.
crazy
I didn't
experience.
enjoy it. My mouth was not happy with the Pop Rocks.
And then you would have the thing where it'd be like, well, don't drink it with
Coke or you'll blow up.
It'll blow up, and you go, well, feels like that's not. I don't even know if those exist anymore.
Oh, they do exist.
Do they really? I haven't seen them in years. I don't even know how the boys would handle that. I should try.
I did watch somebody though once when I was young. We were on the ferry with my parents. I was on the ferry with my parents. We were going. We'd go like around from Jack London Square in Oakland. We would take the ferry across to San Francisco, and we go to Ghirardelli Square and have like this great time. Loved it. That was always a very fun thing to do for my youth. Nerd. So do you guys remember when people said that if you threw like Alka-Seltzers up to like seagulls, it would
they'd boom.
I saw it.
That happened?
Live on one of these things. This guy had like a bunch of them and kept throwing them, and all these seagulls follow the ferries, you know?
Of course.
And threw it up, and finally one, and it like literally as if there was a grenade inside of it. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot going on.
Yeah. So he must have eaten like, I think.
A couple?
Yeah.
Yeah, because one doesn't.
He was throwing like, I mean, this guy came to do this.
Yeah. He's a seagull murderer.
And I feel like it's a criminal charge coming.
I feel like it, right?
It's an aggressive play at the very least.
Yeah.
What is the rule with the boys and candy, and when they can have it, and the allocation of how much they can have?
They get 2 a night.
Nice.
Oh wow, nice.
That's the rule. They get 2 pieces a night. It's funny though. Like when I was a kid, there was no parameter on any of it, and I think I turned out okay. But at the same time, like I wasn't getting full Reese's peanut butter cups and full Snickers bars and all this.
Nobody was getting full anything when we were kids.
You get a little guy.
There was like streets
one
in
neighbor.
Lakewood you could go to.
Certain streets, there was
one or two, and you'd be like, okay.
Homemade chocolate donuts was a huge win, and at that point, you're just fantastic.
You actually would eat homemade candy.
Crush it. Yeah, crush it. But yeah, probably fair that there weren't a whole lot of those. Hey, Browns fans, skip the chore of laundry. Enjoy Life.Laundry. Tide Cleaners offering 30% off dry cleaning for the month of October. Be entered to win 4 VIP Browns tickets to an upcoming home game. Just mention promo code Browns. Visit TideCleaners.com to find the closest location to you. Some exclusions may apply. Are we ready for a little over-unders, gentlemen?
Oh, baby. Yeah, can we just recap what happened last week?
Zagura's been on his high horse
He's been
all
wanting to
weekend.
do this for a week.
Watched it on Twitter. I thought about blocking him.
Last week on the over-unders, Gimme and the Hoff tied with 2 and 3 records.
I'll take that for me. That's pretty good for me. Manage expectations.
Zagura, a perfect 5-0. Our first 5-0, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
The best is when you hold up anything, whether it's the bee or the trophy. It's not on the camera.
Yes, it
It's
should
like-
be.
it's
Bad
cut
camera
off.
work. Bad camera work.
Sad,
Not at all.
sad.
Yeah, awful.
Know your camera.
You can't zoom out?
I can't. There's no light on the camera.
We don't even know what's happening.
In a normal studio, I would have a light if a camera was on.
Now you're just asking for more lights.
Let's go. Did that camera work? Is that on?
I
It's
don't
looking
know.
right at me.
I can't tell if it's on or not.
Oh, boy. Good job, Connor. He got you.
All right, so with that, Gibbe is 15 and 20.
Whoa.
Zagura, for the first time this season, creeps above 500 at 18 and 17, and the Hoff is still a robust 20 and 15.
I know, but now I'm
Lead is
knocking on Hoff's door.
You are. We ready? Here we go.
Hit the traveling music,
They
Madison.
should play
She's
that.
got it. She's traveling it away.
Great. Can't hear it in here.
First one. Another flaw to the studio you designed.
Boy,
Gosh.
wrecking them up
flaws.
today, kids.
Really
Numerous flaws.
Nick Chubb, and perhaps for the last time, Kareem Hunt. Total touches in this one tonight, gentlemen. We will start with Z since he is the reigning champion. The number we are looking for is 30 and a half. 30 and a half, the lowest we've ever done on this. 30 and a half. Over. Get it.
Under.
You've ridden it for a long
So
time.
you're done with this football
You got to
team.
show me something.
You
here.
are done with this football team.
I'm in an agitated state.
You're
and
done.
Why does it make him done with the
Under.
football team?
If that number is under, I find it very difficult to believe we're
It was
winning.
under last week, and it was a winning performance offensively, right?
Yeah, the
Oh.
only thing that's interesting about this number that is a little concerning for me is that last week you had 6 touches for Kareem Hunt. You have, in the last 2 games, just 20 total yards for him.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's been odd.
Yeah. Well, I like it. Next.
Over or under?
Joe Burrow passing yardage. Joe Burrow passing yardage. Gibbe, the number we are looking for is an over or under 275.5.
Over.
He's at 299.5 on the year, but no Jamar Chase.
Over. He's got weapons. You got to score points tonight, kids.
Zagora? 275.5?
Yeah, he's averaging well above that for the season.
299.5
Yeah.
on the season.
Yeah.
But he has 480 last week, so that slants it a little
You're not
bit.
getting 480 tonight.
He's at 300 back-to-back games. The week before, I think, was just a right on.
217.
Was right on 300, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he had 217 3 weeks ago.
Under.
Oh, my God.
I know. You know what? I'm going with my heart. I still care about this team, unlike Gibbe.
Next.
Just taking a different
Over
approach.
or under?
Not that I don't care.
Bit of a curveball. Got this one. Someone asked for this on social. I like to throw a curveball to you guys every once in a while.
It's fine.
So total viewers tonight. Keep in mind you're going up against a World Series game, and it is Halloween. I will give you a little bit of perspective. The Rams-Niners game at the beginning of the month was 13.2 million. So that was what that one was. So the number we are looking for is 12.9 million total.
Is that-
Is this a
viewers.
cross all Does this count Manning
all
casts?
platforms? All platforms. Do we have Manning Cast tonight?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I want to tape that.
12.9 is the number we're looking for. I believe this is a Zagura. A lot of competition. Halloween. We went low, conservative on the number.
I don't know.
I
don't even
gave
know
you
what to make of
perspective.
this.
I gave you
did.
perspective. I gave you Rams-Niners, 13.4, unobstructed
So 500,000 people, do they drop off? Yeah.
against the World Series.
Under?
What is the World Series at? Who even knows? I saw Nolan Ryan
1-1.
can still throw.
1-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he could brush you back? I do.
Yeah. I
It's
think he
6-3.
would, too.
Yeah.
I'm taking the over because Browns Nation shows up. Game in, game out. Doesn't matter.
You know what?
Our Browns fan of the year last week, they will be in force. They will watch in force. They will watch
Burrow,
this game.
too, is really.
We always have the highest rate. Like, our
always
games
do
are
well.
amongst the top 3 highest
The
rated.
West
whenever
Coast
we're on
lollygaggers
yeah,
aren't tuning
I'm
in.
changing
Like,
over.
You're going over,
go
too?
over.
All right.
Over.
All right, very good. Next.
Over or under?
We're looking for sacks, interceptions, and fumbles.
Yeah, why couldn't you
So
replace
I
that?
thought you were going to give us. I thought we were going to get a little Harrison Bryant, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones against Higgins and Boyd. I thought that was going to be.
You didn't
one of
get
them.
it. You
No,
didn't get it
didn't
this
get
week.
That. I thought I was
No,
going to get that.
not this week.
Okay.
Don't know
Sacks,
if you would have liked that
interceptions.
answer.
Yeah, I feel like that would have gone Bengals' way.
Yeah.
You wanted a layup.
Yeah.
Sacks, interceptions, fumbles. We are. Who's going first? This you, Gibbe?
Yeah, it's me.
Gibbe.
It's always me.
The
'cause
number
I
is
suck at
3.5.
this.
3.5.
Over.
We average 4 sacks a game against Joe Burrow just alone.
If we can't get to this QB tonight, I know he's not out of the shotgun about
Gets the
90%
ball out
of the time.
third fastest in the league,
And he holds
2.47
it
seconds.
when he has held it. It's usually for Chase Deep.
And he won't have that.
And he won't have that. And it's been less since under the gun. All right, both of you went over. Finally, next.
Over or under?
The actual over-under is 45.5 Zagura. 45.5.
Under.
Give it.
It's a shootout at First Energy Stadium tonight. Over.
Oh, my God. I feel like it has to be under. We have no
Down to the
chance.
last
I agree.
possession.
Yeah, I'm just going for.
The
I
only
think we
chance
pull out
have,
all the
it's gotta be
stops
under.
tonight. All the stops.
Do we
Let's
have
go.
stops?
Do we have
We gotta
stops?
get it. If you're headed to the Browns-Bengals game tonight, stop by the newly renovated Bud Light Balcony Bar inside First Energy Stadium, 6:30 to 7:30. Meet Browns legend Kevin Mack. Register to win one of 50 NFTs for use in Bud Light Survivor Pick'em game. Bud Light reminds you, always enjoy it responsibly. Our good buddy Ben Baby of ESPN's NFL Nation joining us coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And be part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance of securing tickets for all home games and future seasons. Don't miss out. Go to clevelandbrowns.com/tickets or call 440-891-5050 to reserve your spot today. And now we head behind enemy lines with a great friend of the program, ESPN NFL Nation Bengals reporter Ben Baby on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted. Ben, thanks for the time. Let's just start with the Jamar Chase part of this. When did you start to get the inkling that there could be more to this? And obviously it's an enormous impact. He's one of the most dangerous players in all of the NFL. How will the Bengals try to get past it tonight?
Yeah, it was very surprising, when we heard about what was happening to Jamar, and it all kind of happened pretty quickly because, when we spoke to him after the game against the Falcons on Sunday, he spoke to reporters and, he finished the game, number one, and then number two, he said that, he didn't really want to get into it. He looked like he wasn't incredibly comfortable, but he said he felt fine after the game. Maybe it's one of those things where the adrenaline wears off and they take another look at it. And then to kind of make it a little more out of the blue, Zach Taylor on Wednesday said that Jamar was just dealing with a little bit of soreness and covering Zach for the last 4 years. And given how he speaks about injuries, that's not something that he would have said had they indicated that it was going to be a little bit more serious. I feel like the answer would have been much different than, it's probably just a little bit of soreness, which indicates that it's probably not that big of a deal. So when Jamar ended up being, when Adam Schefter reported that he was going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks with that hip injury, and then said that he got a second opinion essentially and had it looked at by an orthopedist, that definitely raised a lot of eyebrows. We'll get an indication today of what this Bengals offense is going to look like without Jamar Chase. It's been humming the last 2 weeks. Can Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins and everybody else in that receiving room step up and help this offense continue to be, quite frankly, one of the more efficient ones in the NFL, especially over the last few weeks?
Ben, they've been in basically 11 personnel 98% of the time the last few weeks when they kind of made that shift away from, going with 2 tight ends, trying to run the ball, said, all right, let's just get in shotgun, which they live in shotgun now. They live with 3 receivers on the field. Well, when it's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, you get that. Who's going to step in? I would imagine they're still going to run that 11 personnel. Who steps in there and what can be expected? Because as I look at it, nobody else on the team other than the big 3 at the receiver position anyway have more than Mike Thomas has 2 catches for 38 yards.
Yeah, and I think Thomas is going to be that guy whenever they had injury issues. I believe it was Baltimore. Mike Thomas stepped in and played pretty well with Higgins, who was injured in that game. And so I think that that's going to be who they look at, given what they currently have available. I wouldn't be shocked if you see Trent Irwin called up or, potentially looked at as an option. So, I think that with the Bengals, and you talk about their personnel packages, 11 personnel is so much the identity of what Zach Taylor wants to run. Even when he was here in 2019, when he got the job and they did not have the receivers they have now, it was still something that fundamentally they want to do. You look at how much they space out the formation, what they've done with their receivers, how many empty sets they use, a.k.a. God's formation. Love me a good empty personnel package. Just go ahead and declare war on the opposing secondary. I feel like it's a lot of fun that way. And you look at it, they space things out, and that allows Burrow, especially in shotgun, to take a good look pre-snap, figure out what the defense is possibly going to bring, and get the ball out quickly, and get that, and be accurate with it as well, which are 2 of his biggest strengths. So even with Jamar out, I still anticipate a lot of 11 personnel. I know the Browns, have had some issues, against the run, but I think that given what the Bengals have done well, I feel like that's the best way to go about it, even with Jamar out.
Ben, what's been the biggest difference for Burrow the last 2 weeks?
It's a good question. I think that honestly, just based on what I've seen, and from the start of the season to now, he just looks more comfortable in the pocket. I feel physically he looks really good, and probably the best he's looked since the end of last year's regular season. As they got into the postseason, I thought he just never looked comfortable in the way that they called the offense. You could tell that they were definitely trying to pick their spots on when to attack downfield with how that offensive line played. Now you've seen that offensive line get a little bit more chemistry. They are blocking much better than they have, than they were at the beginning of the season, I should say. And it should be worth pointing out that Burrow is now 3 months removed from that emergency appendectomy when his appendix ruptured right before the start of training camp. not only did he miss a lot of time in training camp, but, he lost a lot of weight as well, to the point where Burrow wouldn't even tell us how much weight he did ultimately end up losing. So I imagine that's not easy to put all back on and then also, convert back into muscle. And so that definitely messes with your body composition. And so, I have to wonder how much of that has played a factor. Burrow has downplayed that the entire time, saying he was 100%. It wasn't going to be an issue. But you just wonder, looking at him and knowing how he plays, I feel like what we're seeing now, especially last week against Atlanta, I thought that was the best he'd looked physically. And it's one of the best games he's played since he's been in the NFL.
Yeah, he was electric, 34-42, 481 yards of the 3 touchdowns in addition to 1 rushing. Speaking of rushing, I want to ask you about Joe Mixon, who career low 3.3 yards a carry, coming off of a season last year where he had over 1,500 total yards and 16 total touchdowns. It just feels like they're getting him the ball a lot, but he's not been able to do much with it. 4 yards a touch this season. What do you make of what you've seen from Joe Mixon, and is he somebody with Jamar Chase out that you think will be a bigger part of the game plan against the Browns tonight?
Yeah, it's going to be very, I always like to say things are fascinating, but I am fascinated by kind of what they're going to end up doing with this. But, it's interesting. A couple weeks ago, Joe Mixon told us that he ended up calling a meeting with the offensive linemen, and he wanted to basically get on the same page, make sure that they were seeing what he was seeing and he was seeing what they were seeing. And when you look at the wide zone scheme that they run, it's up to the running back. The offensive line's main job is to create the gaps and then let the running back use his vision to go downhill and pick those gaps. And for whatever reason, that offensive line, the mix of the run game was awful. You look at what he did against light boxes, was one of the worst running backs in the NFL. Is taking a lot of time to even just gain a yard. I believe he was the longest, or had one of the worst in the NFL. We did a YouTube video on it a while back if you want to check that out. And over the last couple of weeks, we've seen the run game really find its groove after that meeting. The pass game has worked really well as well. And I have to imagine both of those things are related. The fact that the Bengals are running the ball much better. I feel like he's being more decisive at the line of scrimmage. He's attacking, certain gaps quickly and being more assertive, and that's benefited as well. So, I feel like with Mixon, you are starting to see some of that production he had last season. But for me, I think the big surprise is how much he's been used in the passing game this year. With defenses playing a lot of cover 2 looks, Joe Burrow has been more than happy to take those checkdowns. As soon as if he feels pressure, he says, I'm going to get the ball to Joe Mixon and let him do his thing, get him in space. And which is what a lot of people have wanted, especially fantasy managers who are potentially playing in those PPR leagues. They're always happy to see Joe Mixon get the ball in the passing game. But, I think the usage of Mixon and potentially Hayden Hurst could be on the uptick if defenses decide to play the Bengals differently with Jamar Chase out.
Ben, for whatever reason, Burrow has not had a lot of success against this Browns franchise. What is this, as a kid who grew up in Ohio, what does this one mean to him? Is there a sense that it means more?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Burrow 0-3 against the Browns, and it was interesting. We just wrote a story on ESPN.com about all the Cleveland ties that he has. Grew up a big diehard Cavs fan. Kid Cudi's his favorite rapper from Shaker Heights. And then Joe, actually, if you go back and look at the tape from the Combine, he admitted that he was actually a Browns fan for a little bit. And I talked to one of his close friends and said that was definitely a phase for him in high school where he switches allegiance from the Saints to the Browns. And, I talked to his dad, Jimmy, for that story. And he said it's not something that he's going to have to bring up to Joe going into this week's game. It's something that's going to be on his mind. And, the stakes are going to be high for the Bengals. Not only, have the Browns, frankly, just had their number the last couple of years, but the Bengals are 0-2 so far in AFC North play. And my buddy Jake Trotter and I, who cover the Browns, we were at breakfast at Grumpy's this morning going over the schedule. And he said, if you look at that Baltimore schedule, it's pretty light. And the Bengals, they're going to have some tough games still on the docket. They got Kansas City. They still got Buffalo. You never know what Tampa Bay is going to be like. And they're 0-2 so far in the division. Last year, they swept Baltimore and Pittsburgh, dropped the first game to both of those teams. I don't know if the Bengals can afford to go 0-3 in divisional play and potentially have a shot to win the division. So I think there's a lot riding on this game tonight.
Listen, and for a Bengals team, they've won 4 of 5, and everybody's talking about the offense, but I want to ask you, Ben, about this defense. It's the only defense in the league that's not allowed a touchdown in the second half, and it's a defense that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in my research, only Trey Hendrickson's even been to a Pro Bowl of anybody on this defense. He went last year, and yet, a lot of veterans, a lot of just really solid players where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Why have they been so effective this season?
I think that you've got to give them a lot of credit the front office deserves a lot of credit, number one, for finding guys who really fit this scheme pretty well. I think you've got to give defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo a lot of credit. He was a guy who was under a lot of fire at the beginning of last year after, a lackluster couple of years. They spent a lot of money in free agency, bringing in guys like Trey Hendrickson, Chidobe Awuzie, DJ Reader was another big addition. Even somebody like Eli Apple, who won't be playing. I wouldn't imagine he'd play tonight. He's listed as doubtful, hasn't practiced throughout the week extensively. Even Eli, they brought him in as a reserve corner behind Trey Waynes, who was a high-priced free agent. When Waynes didn't work out, they went and turned to Apple, and he was able to play well enough towards the end of last season, had that big play against Tyreek Hill in the AFC Championship game that really was one of the pivotal moments during that Super Bowl run. And so I think they really quickly realized that this defense needed to be better. They went out and spent the money to make it better. And then Lou Anarumo's done a good job of really being flexible, having an adaptive scheme to whatever it's going to need to be for any given week. And the players really enjoy playing for him. And not only have the Bengals not given up a touchdown in the first 7 games of this season, they're the first team to have that kind of start since 1950, according to the Elias Sports Bureau. So, we'll see if the Bengals can continue this historic start. And when you look at it, it's a big reason why this team's point differential is one of the best in the NFL right now.
Ben, you're the best, pal. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, always a pleasure. Good catching up.
The great Ben Baby covers ESPN for the Bengals behind enemy lines, and there's nothing quite like tailgating touchdowns and Twisted Tea. It tastes just like real iced tea, and you know why? Because it's made with real brewed tea, cool, refreshing, and a 5% kick of alcohol. It's thirst down and gold, Twisted Tea, hard iced tea. Keep it twisted. Your keys to the game and your forecast coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. The Bath Authority gives you a bathroom of your dreams. Why not transform your current bathroom into a custom bath for a spa-like experience? Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is our area's premier bath and shower remodeler with expert factory-trained installers. Give them a call now. You get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. The largest selection of bath projects. They're all made in the United States. Change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Acrylic tubs that insulate to keep the heat in. Tub to shower conversions as well. Superior products with expert installers at the Bath Authority. Time for our keys to the game, and for that we head to Dr. Z.
You got to have this one, folks. And one of these keys will be repetitive. The other ones are new. But the first and foremost, if you want to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that can absolutely score the football, you cannot give them short fields. You cannot give them extra possessions. And so we must take care of the football. It's the most important factor in determining the Browns' ability to win. They are 11-2 all-time under Kevin Stefanski when they don't turn the ball over. They've been 11-2 for 4 straight weeks because 4 straight weeks they've turned the football over. 4 straight weeks they have lost. This year, 2-0 when we don't turn the football over. 0-5 when we do. Feels pretty simple. That's the difference.
Yep.
That's number one. Number two, sack, hit, and disrupt Joe Burrow. Browns 3-0 all-time against Burrow. Big reason has been their ability to generate pressure, sacks, and turnovers. The Browns have sacked Burrow 12 times in those 3 wins with at least 3 sacks in every game, including a 5-sack performance in last year's 41-16 win in Cincinnati. Those negative plays and pressure in general are critical to slowing down Burrow, who's already been sacked 25 times this year, 3rd most in the NFL heading into Week 8. When operating from a clean pocket, he's going to slice you. 73% completions, 8 yards an attempt, 11 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 106. When under duress, the completion percentage drops to 50, and his rating still a solid 89, but down significantly. Oh, and by the way, Joe Burrow has won. He has won. Here it is. Hold on. Bear with me for 1 second. Joe Burrow has won 7 straight games in which he has a quarterback rating of 100 or more. In fact, in his last 10 games, when he has a quarterback rating of 100, they are 7-0. When his quarterback rating is under 100, they are 0-3.
Pretty simple.
Feels like that would be important to go ahead and do that. Last year, the Browns used a nickel blitz to get home quickly on Burrow. Likes to get the ball out in under 2.5 seconds. Troy Hill had 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits. Should also be noted that Burrow has turned the ball over in all 3 games against the Browns. 3 interceptions, 2 lost fumbles as well. 5 total turnovers in 3 games, and the Browns are going to need to get another one to get a win. And then finally, this one is more theoretical than anything specific or statistically driven, but special teams needs to be a net neutral at least, and if not, a net positive. Far too often this season, the third phase of the game, special teams, has been a negative for the Browns, whether it's been a failure to recover an onside kick, a blown coverage assignment that leads to a big return, muffing punts, missing critical field goals and extra points. The Browns special teams have too often been a contributing factor to the team's 5 losses. The Bengals, they've got a solid return game. They've got a veteran punter in Kevin Huber. They have a deadly field goal kicker in Evan McPherson, who's already made a 59-yarder this year and has a 5 walk-off game-winning kicks, including one that sent them to the Super Bowl. He had 2 in that playoff run.
Yep.
They're a top 10 scoring offense. They're a top 10 scoring defense. Their special teams is at least net neutral, hence they've won 4 of the last 5 games. The Browns need to at least be neutral on special teams with the Bengals, and if it can be a net positive, I think it will finally go a long way to helping this football team win.
Well said on you. Game day forecast brought to you by Carrier, partner of your Cleveland Browns. Carrier, turn to the experts. Cloudy, cool temperatures in the low 60s by kickoff at 8:15. That's pretty good.
It's great, especially because it looked earlier in the week like there was going to be a lot of rain, and it looked kind of nasty and cold, and it's going to be, 60s. It'll be wonderful conditions, and the Browns are going to go out and have to take care of business. And we saw a wild week in the NFL with some wild finishes. And the Browns just need to figure out how to be on the right side of that finish tonight.
Yeah, they do. It's funny, when I looked outside and got ready to come in here today, my assumption was that it was like 48.
Cold,
44 to 48, somewhere in that neck of the woods. And so I was pleasantly surprised to have it be in the 60s. upon coming out. So it should be a great night down there. Browns fans can win bid with the digital scratch-off game brought to you by Ohio Lottery on clevelandbrowns.com and the Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the regular season by digitally scratching off a virtual card for chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards and tickets to future games. For more information, log on to clevelandbrowns.com, and they will take care of you there. The Hoff will join us coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, the official printer partner of your Cleveland Browns. Will you depend on the Browns to win? You can always depend on OBM. They'll tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. We were talking about this last week when we had Bernie on, and you think about like the apex of this rivalry was him and Marty versus Weish and Boomer. That was it. Certainly, you think about, Weish, you live in Cincinnati, you don't live in Cleveland, and you think about all of the things that lead to that. And I think it's interesting how if you look at the last, 40 years since, and you try to, or 30 plus years since, you try to say why they were never able to get aligned to where they were both. And we thought we were headed there. We thought it was going to be Baker and Burrow for a while, and that won't change. Certainly when Deshaun comes back next year, when it should be set off, where you have two elite quarterbacks playing for both teams and fighting for the division and all of the things that come with that. But
I got Joe.
That is kind of the window of when they were both at a very, very high level. All right, time to bring in the Hoff on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Hoff, great talking to you, my friend. How much did you see of Joe Hayden and your former teammate here? He'll be honored tonight at the game, and him here at the facility on Saturday. We talked to him earlier in the show. He was really moved by all of it. What type of teammate was he, and what was it like? Is it like seeing him be honored by the organization the way that he will be tonight? No, Hoff?
No.
I'm never going to remember all that.
No, but it was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the setup.
Yeah, it was a good setup.
It's a great question.
Felt like we were going to get a great answer.
I think you were going to get a terrific question, Bo.
No, it's not Bernie.
Oh, right. Sure.
Yeah. If it was Bernie, I would have.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Bernie appreciates one like that.
He loves
for sure.
a good question.
Yeah, he loves that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Listen, the Hoff, he'll talk about it, but this is an important game. We've got to have this one, whatever it is. However, it really doesn't even matter. That's the thing. We've done this well, and we've been efficient here. Yeah, we lost. Like, it's binary. It's binary. The Carolina Panthers, who pulled off one of the most unbelievable moments in the NFL in that game.
Yeah.
P.J. Walker throwing to DJ Moore when it was game over for a touchdown. By the way, since we have a few seconds here, can I do a quick rant?
Yeah, please. I'd like a rant. Go ahead.
Know the place and time. Just like
time and place.
Yes, all of it. Just like earlier in the game or after that touchdown when the Falcons tried a Hail Mary and, there was a little bit of contact down there on a ball that wasn't really catchable, they did not call pass interference, even though maybe you could have said it was by the letter of the law pass interference. DJ Moore just did a 1 in a 500,000 thing. Let him take his helmet off. It's not affecting anybody. It's not hurting anybody. Like, just chill out. Like, that is a moment that allows, again, a game that is not personal, allows you to have a personality type of a moment in an unbelievable situation from raw emotion. He didn't taunt anybody. Like, if he got in their face, that's one thing. He was just excited and wanted to celebrate with his teammates. So then you get a 15-yard penalty. Now, the guy then misses the extra point that would have won the game. Brutal. But just let that go. Like, let it go.
There has to be some common sense applied.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Let that go. Great moment, unbelievable moment. Of course there's going to be some emotion. Just let it go. He didn't taunt anybody. Now, if he took his helmet off and started telling the guys on the Falcons, you let me get behind you, you're a bunch of bozos, okay, you throw a flag. But he didn't do that.
Yeah, it's like getting pulled over for 6 over on an empty highway.
Like, come on. Right.
What are we doing?
Yes. Did I violate the speed limit? Sure.
Technically, yes. But what are we doing?
What are we doing
here? We all know that I'm more than capable.
So let that go.
Yeah.
Number 2, that game was so ridiculously heart-wrenching for the Carolina Panthers, who would have been in first place if they win that game in that division.
Got Joe on the phone.
That poor guy misses an extra point. Literally missed an extra point in overtime. A kicker. Just sad. It was sad.
Yeah, this
Wild
is
finish, though.
Right. This is a pretty crazy league week to week, and hopefully we can have a little bit of crazy tonight. Hoff, before we had you on, I set you up about Joe Hayden and your former teammate being honored tonight, signing a contract with the Browns so he can retire a Brown. He spent the weekend here, was at the Cavs game last night. What do you recall about Joe, the teammate? What does it mean to have him in the building tonight being honored as a Brown?
Nailed it.
nailed it for the second time, and I got to hear both of them.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Let's go.
Yeah, it was
What
crazy.
a treat.
I was literally talking. Yeah, I was talking to Madison, and she put me over, and then somehow my voice was stolen like Ariel in Little Mermaid. But,
Yeah, very sad. What
we
a drop.
digress. And very, very excited to have Joe Hayden in Cleveland tonight. One of my favorite teammates of all time. And there's not many guys on the defensive side of the football that I got along with real well, and certainly not many guys that I hung out with on the defensive secondary. But Joe Hayden was one of the exceptions, and I think it was just because he had this infectiousness about him.
Yep.
His personality was so upbeat, optimistic, happy, positive. And when we were going through some of our tough times when he was there, like, he was one of those guys on the defensive side of the ball that always brought great effort, great preparation, and he brought an energy to practices and games that a lot of times it's hard to find that fake energy when the season's pretty much over, you're already out of the playoffs, but you still got a job to do. And he was one of those leaders on the defensive side of the football, and he always had a love of Cleveland that I really identified with, because that was kind of the same love that I had. We were both, drafted into Cleveland. We didn't have a connection before we came to town, but when Joe was playing for the Steelers, he would still get like charter vans and buses for the players on the Steelers, and him and his buddies would come to Cleveland. They wouldn't tell anybody, but they loved coming to the city of Cleveland, going to Cavs games, going out about town, hitting the restaurants. And I didn't expect Joe to want to retire as a Cleveland Brown and come back and do this. But now that I think about it, like, it just makes perfect sense, because there's almost nobody that was more Cleveland than Joe Hayden and more embraced by this team and this city than he was.
He really was a special guy, and we're certainly excited to celebrate him. Before we keep going, though, Hoff, I wanted to know, what was the Hoff family Halloween looking like this year, costume-wise?
Oh, it's great. Oh, man. So the Whitey and I, we had the adult party, which it's always good to kind of separate
Sure.
silos. You got to have the adult party where you imbibe a little bit more, and then the children's party where it's more, pops and candy. So the adult one, we were Ted Lasso, and that was fantastic. I grew up with a mustache that was very dirty, and it looked like more like Ted Lasso down and out since this show hasn't come back yet. But we had a great time doing it, and I think is her name? I'm so good with names, I can't remember who my wife dressed up as, but she looked great. Let me tell you, she had a beautiful blue business suit dress thing on.
So she was the boss.
Real cute. The boss. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's been too long since I watched the show, so I can't remember what her name was. But the night we're going to about Bob, whole family. Show. My wife's family was the original lovers of What About Bob? And then
that's right.
the
We
What
asked
About
it right.
Bob?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
right.
Exactly. Yes.
No,
indeed.
we all love it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Leo Marvin. So
Dr. Marvin.
The terrible mustache into like a terrible beard. So.
Oh my
Should be
goodness
a great
gracious!
time.
Do you have a bust of Sigmund Freud over the fireplace?
Of course, obviously we've gone all out. Don't spare any expenses on Halloween.
Hoff, is there
Where are the
any way?
pictures of this? I want pictures.
Well, I'm sure. Hopefully, we'll see him. A great
They're
documentary, and
coming.
hopefully we see him. Hoff, is there any way we can talk you into, maybe rolling with this mustache? Because I saw some images over the weekend. I think it looks fantastic.
I'm with you guys. I think it's the best thing I've ever put on my face.
Yep.
Since college, certainly, and it's been really a lot of fun. I think it's transitions nicely into Movember, even though my kids are afraid of me and they won't give me a hug, and my wife says to shave it immediately. I'm kind of grown attached to it a little bit, like we grew up in the generation where all the dads.
Yes.
It was just what you did, and I think it should come back.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, there's a little Tom Selleck.
There is.
I mean, I like you get a little caterpillar up there. That's a win. My dad. I've never seen my dad without a mustache.
Same.
You've never seen your dad.
Nope.
Z's never seen his dad without a mustache.
Look at him.
He looks fantastic.
He looks
I love
so
it.
happy.
Of course, he looks happy. He's got a mustache.
Yeah, it does seem great.
Yeah, mustaches do bring great joy. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Joe, the chance for joy tonight. This is a Bengals team that is playing without their most dangerous weapon in Jamar Chase, and yet they still have an elite quarterback. They still have two elite receivers. They have a great running back, good at tight end. They've been hitting their stride the last 2 weeks. Let me ask you this: does last week's recipe against Baltimore give you a shot? And should you win if you do what you did last week against Baltimore minus the turnover? Is that the script?
I think it is a little bit. I think not having Jamar Chase obviously cannot be overstated because he's sort of their answer when they get blitzed. Joe Burrow has been great the second half of this, first part of the season already against blitz or against only a four-man rush. But earlier on in the season, that was not the case. But with Jamar Chase, his ability to just find him quickly when somebody blitzes has really discouraged a lot of teams from blitzing. But without Jamar Chase, I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns dial up a few zone blitzes, dial up a little bit more blitzing than you expect, especially with an offensive line who's played better, but there's still those problems there. I mean, there's still the same dudes that are getting rolled out there. So it's just a function of Joe Burrow is getting rid of the ball to Jamar Chase and hurting teams when they tried to blitz so that they couldn't do it. So then the offensive line doesn't get exposed, but all of a sudden Chase is gone. And it really changes the dynamic of what you can do from a defensive game plan standpoint. And I think that really will give Myles Garrett an opportunity to get home because he's been the difference maker in a lot of these Bengals matchups in the last few years with his ability to get to the quarterback and then force turnovers with sack fumbles.
Yeah, done it twice against Joe Burrow. The sack strip fumbles has Myles Garrett in those 3 meetings. And to Hoff's point, Burrow this year, 121 rating against the blitz, almost 9 yards attempt, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. But Hoff, last year we did something where we blitzed our nickel a lot against them. And Troy Hill had 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. What does blitzing a nickel do to a quarterback and to an offensive line? And why do you think that was effective and can it be again?
Well, one thing that Joe Burrow does a good job of is he eats up 2 high safety looks, so middle of the field open. So a lot of teams will play like cover 1, cover 3. But what happens then is they've got the speeds to be able to go down the field because 4 verticals is, if anybody plays Madden, that's your best way to attack a 3 deep look. And so they murder that look. So like teams are wondering, what do we do? So they just say, all right, I'm trying to take away everything and let them run the football. But Joe Mixon hasn't really got going this season. And when you get that nickel blitz, you can just usually they tell the quarterbacks wherever the blitz is coming from, that's where your hot is because that's where the vacancy is. And so I think you might see a little bit more of that from the Browns because it had been effective and because it's something that can get turned into a zone blitz. So what a zone blitz is, right? Obviously, everybody knows the opposite is a man blitz. So everybody's in man coverage. You got 1 safety in the middle of the field, and you're bringing 5, 6 guys. But a zone blitz, it can look like accumulated pressure, which is something that you hear a lot in college football, which basically it feels like it's a blitz. So the quarterback now is thinking, got to throw hot, got to get the ball out of my hand. But in reality, you're bringing only 4 guys or sometimes just 5 guys. So you can play zone behind. You don't have to match up because you still have enough numbers behind it. And it's a way to confuse a quarterback and force them to hold on to the football a little bit. And that's the one thing you can say about Joe Burrow that he hasn't been great at is he's not always good at getting rid of the football, right? He hasn't had a very good offensive line, so that's part of it. But he takes a lot of hits because he hangs onto the ball, because he trusts his guys. He feels like he can throw the football down the field. And anytime you can confuse him and make him think just an extra half a second about where this blitz is coming from, where do I need to find my answers, that gives Myles a chance to get home. I think that's what they're trying to do because they know that turnovers is going to be the difference in this game.
Hoff, how difficult is a night like tonight? The report over the weekend that we'll be willing to, we've been listening to offers for Kareem Hunt and we'll grant his trade request from earlier in the year. You have the trade deadline tomorrow. Could be other guys on our roster that could be playing somewhere else as soon as tomorrow. Take us inside the locker. I mean, you're all pros, right? And we all say, oh, you're professional. It's all in the brochure. But, I mean, you're people, too. Kareem's been an integral part and part of the emotional engine of this team. If this is it for him, I think it's going to have quite the toll. What do you make of what it'll be like tonight a little bit in that locker room?
Certainly emotional. I reflect back on actually some of the best games we've played as far as how the team played over expectations were some of those last games of the season. And a lot of times it was week 17, right? Because we weren't going to the playoffs.
Yep.
However, there's a bunch of guys in that locker room that you care deeply about that based on their contract situation and how the NFL works. Hey, this is our last chance to suit it up, strap the chin strap on, and go out and play with your buddies, right? I remember going way back to high school. My freshman year, we made it all the way to the state championship. And going into the last game of the season, the state finals, my coach said, hey, this is the last time you'll ever strap it up with these guys, And as a kid, like, you don't really think about that until all of a sudden you're in that moment and you're faced with that reality. And then it's like, wow, I want to do something that's memorable. I want this memory of this special group, because no matter how much you love your teammates, you spend so much time with them that you have all these memories, right? And how do I want to remember our time together becomes really important. And I think Kareem, being one of the leaders, certainly in the offense and also for the whole team, there's a lot of guys that want to remember their time with Kareem Hunt very positively. And I think they will, but a lot of times it's that last taste that remains the longest. And so it's going to be emotional because there's a great chance that Kareem Hunt gets traded. And they want to make sure that they send him out the right way because I think this team really loves him, and they understand how much he's meant to this team since he got here.
Absolutely, and he's been limited to just 20 total yards the last 2 games, but a good career history against Cincinnati, 7 touchdowns in 5 games against them with both the Chiefs and the Browns, and it would be nice for him, if he is, in fact, this will be his last game with the Cleveland Browns, to go out in a win and to go out productive like he was on that Thursday night a couple of years ago where we just ran Chubb and Hunt at the Cincinnati Bengals and punished them into submission. Hoff, I want to ask you about one guy, Trey Hendrickson. What would be your game plan for stopping him? He has been incredibly productive. He's got 3.5 sacks to lead the team, 31 sacks since the start of the 2020 season behind only T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett. And he's the guy that on that line stands out as the playmaker and the one who could, disrupt our offense and lead to one of those critical turnovers.
Yeah, as much as I want to watch Amari Cooper versus Awuzie, because I think that's going to be a great matchup, and that'll be fun to watch in the second year. I know my eyes are going to slide over to that left tackle position because Judd's coming off the worst game of the season. He played really well early on, and he struggled last week. I think he even admitted it. So this is an opportunity to bounce back. This is the NFL, right? In college, you play 1, maybe 2 All-American, all Big Ten type players every season. Yeah, then the rest of them, you got a bunch of cupcakes. But in the NFL, man, the hits keep coming. Like Trey Hendrickson this week, and he's one of the best at getting home. He doesn't always have the big sack numbers because he doesn't have that elite closing speed that Myles does, that 4.5 speed that can turn a hit or a pressure into a sack. But that doesn't make the job any less challenging because he is a big, physical, high motor guy that's pretty slippery when he's in pass protection, and when he's got especially a bigger offensive lineman on him, he can be tough to find surface areas to hit and to grab onto. So for Jed, it's going to be a big game, and it's going to show us a lot about his focus, his ability to pay attention to the little details, because that's what you need to be able to that brings it every single snap with the intensity that Trey Hendrickson does. So I would say if you see Jed slipping at all mentally from a focus standpoint, Trey's going to take advantage of it. So this is a great measuring stick for Jed to see if he's learned any of the lessons that he hopefully learned from last week and he's able to carry it over and make the corrections this week.
Hoff, you're the best, buddy.
Yes.
Enjoy your Halloween. Hopefully you get a win here tonight to make it better.
Happy Halloween. Go Brownies.
Hoff, real quick.
Baby steps.
After the Hoff ceremony, I would really like for you one Halloween to go Baywatch David Hasselhoff, grow a little bit of a mullet, and say, no, don't hassle the Hoff to everybody. I think it'd be great.
Oh, God, I think that seems like a must.
Right?
I think so. I like. I may have to bring that over to Germany. Actually, my kids are laughing. I'm going to the NFL Germany game in a couple of weeks.
Oh.
Which is going to be really cool. So I'm covering for NFL Network. But, David Hasselhoff, he's big over in Germany.
Huge.
He's huge. My wife was laughing. She's like, well, maybe you're going to become big in Germany, and then you're going to have to go over there, and you're going to do the David Hasselhoff thing in Germany. And I was like, yeah, don't worry, that ain't happening. But you never know.
You never know.
I love it.
Come on.
Like they did to Hoff.
Let's go.
Oh, my God, I think you'd just thrive. Great talking to you, Hoff, as always.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Browns fans, you could enter a chance to win season tickets for the 2023 season from Sugardale and your local Meijer. 2 lucky fans will have a chance to compete on the field during halftime, November 27th, for the ultimate prize. Text Browns to 55678 to enter today. Still so much more to come. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Headed to the Browns-Bengals game tonight. Stop by the newly renovated Bud Light Balcony Bar inside First Energy Stadium. 6:30-7:30. Beat Browns legend Kevin Mack. Register to win 50 NFTs for use in Bud Light Survivor Pick'em game. Bud Light reminds you to always enjoy it responsibly. Let's go. Salvage it. Let's go.
Go. Gotta have it. Let's go.
Next level's next. We're back
23-20.
tomorrow.